Welcome to TEPSA Talk, the podcast where leaders inspire, share, and grow together. TEPSA is dedicated to celebrating the incredible work happening in education. Each episode, we dive into meaningful conversations with leaders, change-makers, and innovators who are shaping the future of our schools. Whether you're looking for fresh ideas, encouragement, or a little spark to fuel your passion, TEPSA Talk is here for you. Imagine tuning in to hear how leaders are revolutionizing their schools, tackling challenges head-on, and fostering a culture of collaboration. Grab a coffee, hit play, and let's grow together. Welcome to TEPSA Talk.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the TEPSA Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Todd Nesloney, the Director of Culture and Strategic Leadership here at the Texas Elementary Principals and Supervisors Association. We are thrilled each week to bring you different leaders from around the world, and this week we have an amazing guest who is one of our TEPSA favorites, and that is Miss Lori Gallegos. Lori, thank you so much for being here. Tell everybody a little bit about who you are.
Todd, I'm super excited to be here today. So, like Todd said, my name is Lori Gallegos. I work for Northside Independent School District in San Antonio, Texas. And this new position I've been in now for almost a year is I'm serving as the Assistant Superintendent for Elementary Instruction. So I have an opportunity to get to work with 83 elementary schools, all of them very diverse and unique and amazing in their own rights. So really just love what I do.
I love it. Well, Lori, okay, we're going to start back at the beginning because anytime I have these conversations, I always kind of like to start in the same place and end in the same place. So the way I love to start is, obviously at some point during your path in education, you either had somebody encourage you to consider a role in leadership, or you naturally was like, this might be the next step for me. What did it look like for you when you decided to step outside the classroom?
Well, I was a kindergarten teacher, and so I was convinced that as I moved on out of a classroom position, I was going to be the supervisor of early childhood education for our school district. And at the time, I didn't realize that was one person in one district. And so, the job availability was not too great there. So I had gone back to get a master's degree in supervision so I could do that one job, and realized very quickly I had limited myself. But my principal at the time, Sherilyn Humble, who I will always be indebted to, and actually a TEPSA favorite, past president, Karen Bassett, the two of them together I don't know how they managed to do it, but they both started working on me from each side and telling me that they thought they saw something in me that could really be a good thing for leadership and working with schools as possibly an administrator. So I took the chance and I went back to school again and got my degree in mid-management and have never looked back since then. So I'm very much indebted to both of those ladies and what they did for me.
I love when we get to hear these stories about the particular person that poured into you. And it's just such that powerful reminder that every little interaction we have with people, we can either lift them up and make them see opportunity, or we can't. And I love that you have another example of someone who poured into you and really let you see that I might be ready for this. But, at some point, though, you're leading a school, you're doing all these things, and then you're like, but there's another now there's these supervisor roles. How did you know that you were ready to step off of a campus and into that more supervisor type role?
Well, I have to be honest, I don't know if you ever really know that you're ready for that. So I think it's one of those things that it was right before COVID for me, and I was just starting to feel the itch that maybe change was needed. I know a lot of times change can be scary, and I am not one who adapts well to change, I'll be honest, but I knew I had heard it enough when I was a principal, and I've said it enough to teachers when I was a principal to say, change is what makes us grow. It's getting uncomfortable is part of that process, and that's what stretches us. So at the time, I thought, well, let's do this. Let's just see what happens. And there was a position that had opened up for Director of Leadership Development at that time in our school district. And so I applied for it and was blessed and was given the position and just had an amazing experience. So after being in that position for a few years, it was kind of that same feeling. It was like, gosh, there's a position that's opened up in C&I. I had a leader in our district who was like, you know what, if that position ever came available, you might want to consider it. And then like a year later it did. And so I thought, let's do it. So I think when you become comfortable with what you're doing, that maybe that's a time to start thinking maybe it is time for a change so that you can continue to grow.
I love that perspective so much because anytime I think about in my life, it's always like it's that moment where I'm like is going great. Like I've got this down. Like I've dotted my I's, crossing my T's. It's like, oh, now it might be time for a change because I don't want to get too comfortable and then not be at my best. So I love that you share that. But you're overseeing a lot of different leaders right now, and you're also having to lead from that position. And so one of the things I think about is someone in your position, how are you taking care of you so that you can take care of your people? Because I know oftentimes in leadership, we aren't the best at taking care of ourselves, or at least where we're not running completely dry. So what do you do to maintain any semblance of sanity or try to be as good as you can for the people you're serving?
Sure. I think for me, a lot of it is just be realistic. I'm in my first year of a new position, and it really is drinking from a fire hose. And so I know, like in this whole year, I'll be honest, there hasn't been a lot of time for self-care for me. But I also know that that's situational, and with each new experience that we go through, I'm like, okay, that first is over. It'll never be a first again for that. So I think there's some self-care that's happened naturally as you have feelings of accomplishment and celebrations. A lot of the work that we've been doing in our district this year that I've been heavily involved in, we're starting to really see the needle move. And so I think that also is a kind of self-care. It's taking a minute to celebrate, knowing there's still hard work to go, but taking time to celebrate and just enjoy the fruits of your labor, so to speak. And then there's also time when, in fact, we were just talking at a principal's meeting this morning, there's time when you just have to say, I'm taking a break. I'm taking a break from work and I'm focusing on my family. And maybe that's, during your Thanksgiving or your holidays, or, during a week one night when usually you are working late into the evening and you're like, nope, I'm not doing it. I'm going to go to my daughter's theater performance or
Yeah.
whatever it is. And you give yourself permission to do that. I think when we sometimes as leaders, we feel like we have to give everything to the folks that we work with. If you're a principal, you're giving everything you have to your students and your parents. And sometimes you just have to take that reality check and say, I'm not going to be good for them if I haven't taken some time for myself. And even when things are a little bit busy, maybe it's a first year in a new position or first year doing anything new, right? Then you just have to take some time from moment to moment and say, okay, this week's going to be hard and that's okay, because next week I know I can take some time and take care of me.
There were two things though that you said that I loved. And the first I think that's really powerful that I hope people hear is you understanding that what I'm going through right now is very situational for the moment. Like this is not going to last forever. And so I think sometimes we have to understand that is important in taking care of ourselves, to be able to say, it's a lot right now. And like you said, I'm drinking from a fire hose. It's all new, and I haven't really had a ton of time for me in this moment. But I know this isn't permanent. Like I know this is just a season right now, and so I'm pushing through because of that. So I love that there was that perspective. I know this isn't a permanent thing, and so I know what I need to do to help me get where I need to be, kind of thing, and take care of me. But the other thing you said there, I really hope people hear is just that importance of knowing when to say, I need a break. Like I just step away for a minute. I had a conversation recently with someone who said, because I was talking about something about, oh yeah, it's the silly thing with my kids. Like I can miss it to get that done. And they were like, no, you're not going to miss that and you're going to go. And she said, because I remember when my daughter was that age and I said, oh, it's okay. I can do this work thing and then I can do it next year. She was like, and then next year was COVID. And then the next year I got super sick and then they're not doing it anymore. And I missed it all those times because I wanted to prioritize work instead of them. And she said, now she's however old. And that's all I can think about is if I had just been that year, I would have got to see it. And that's really stuck with me. And so I love that you share that about knowing when to say, I just need to step away for a minute. So thank you for sharing that. So shifting gears a little bit, I know something that you're super passionate about is supporting leaders, which obviously you get to do in the role that you're in now. And so I'd love to know, like, what are some of the things that you love doing right now with the position that you're in?
Well, I think for this year, I have been so excited being on campuses so much. for when I first came to central office, my position at that time, it was more teaching and leading professional development. So now getting to be back with kids and seeing principals literally in their homes, so to speak, that is the best part of my job. And when we support leaders, I mean, there's support's a huge word, right? There can be so many layers to that. And that's the other thing. It doesn't have to come from just me. I have an amazing team, and being on campuses and getting to see our team being able to go and help a teacher, a student, a specialist, a principal, whoever it is, but being in there and kind of putting up your sleeves and really digging into the work together, that is the most rewarding part of this job. You cannot get any better satisfaction than being in a classroom and seeing a child look up that's like, I got it, miss, did you see that? And it's just something that's very heartwarming about that. So yeah, supporting leaders, it looks different at every campus, and I'm sure as I continue in this position, it'll look different from year to year with what that is and which campuses maybe we spend a little more time on and which campuses we do check-ins in a different way. But that is by far the best part of this job.
Well, and I love hearing you say that checking in looks different for different people. And so I think that's really important for leaders to hear of. It's not just, okay, I did the box. It's like, no, well, this person might need this when you check in, and this person might need this. And so if someone's listening today thinking, wow, I wish I worked for somebody like Lori, like I don't have anybody checking in, like I'd love for that. What advice do you have for leaders who are struggling with having a support system around them? What could they do to feel like they're not completely alone in the work that they're doing?
Sure. Well, I mean, in a best case scenario, you have supervisors, you have department folks, depending on the size of your district, of course, who are going to be there and be able to really just be a phone call away, and you feel comfortable calling and saying, hey, I need this. I haven't gotten it. Please help me out. But reality is that that's not always the case. So if you don't have it, I think you find your network. You do the work yourself, whether that's calling other principals if there are other principals and you're not the singleton, that would be a perfect place to start. And even if you are a singleton, I mean, that's one of the things like with TEPSA, that there is such a strong group that's there, whether it's somebody in your district, your region area, your service center connection, whatever it may be, or maybe it's someone across the state. I mean, it could really be anyone, and it's finding those people that you can talk to and make a, kind of an accountability partner, a friend, or someone to vent with, whatever that is. You find it yourself, because I think you don't want to make the excuse, well, oh, my supervisor or my central office or whoever hasn't been there to give me what I need. Okay, that may be the case. So what are you going to do about it? Go find your help. Go find your people.
That is the best advice, and I hope people hear that. If you are finding yourself alone and like, I need that support, you have to reach out for it. And I love that you share that, because like, I think about me, that's so not my personality. But I look at all these connections I've been able to build in the support system I had, and it was me stepping outside my comfort zone because I knew I needed those people around me. Now, you mentioned TEPSA, and as you know, this is the TEPSA Talk Podcast, but you also are serving on our executive committee. So talk a little bit about like what that's been like for you to be able to be involved in that level of TEPSA and knowing that you're getting to help impact leaders from across the state.
Oh, absolutely. It hands down has been the best 2 years. Being on the executive committee it's opened my eyes in so many ways, because I think sometimes, and it's completely unintentional, we sometimes get a little bit of tunnel vision on with the kind of district or the kind of role we're in. I've been in a very large district my whole career. And so on my work on EC, having the opportunity to work with my liaison group with regions that are much, much, much smaller, districts that are much smaller than where I am, it has opened my eyes just to see that there are so many things that come up that are universal, right? Challenges that we face or concerns that we have that are all over. It doesn't matter if you're in a pre-K-12 school or if you're in a district that has, 83 elementaries like in ours. There are some very big commonalities, but then there are some very big differences too. And so learning from our leaders, the different kinds of things that we need to advocate for, that has been, I think, probably the biggest eye-opener for me. I love how TEPSA, we have the opportunity during the legislative sessions to go to the Capitol and actually talk to legislators and explain, this is what's happening in the state of Texas right now, because I want in my heart of hearts to believe that all of our legislators are trying to make decisions that are in the best interest of kids and schools, but that they don't always know exactly what's happening. And so I think through my work on EC, having had that opportunity to learn from the greats like Mark Terry and how you go and you do that advocacy work has been just such a tremendous experience. And being able to work with the other members of the EC and learn from just the greats. I mean, Dana Boyd, our president, right? Just phenomenal leader, and being in El Paso and seeing her in action, those little takeaways. Sometimes you can't even like just, put them all in words, but you just take away something that you're like, oh, I just did a Dana Boydism, right? I don't know what that means. So
I love that. Well, I think it's so important people to know, like, there's so many roles that people play in an association, and our executive committee is just such an important piece. And I love that you brought up too that advocacy piece, because that's the only way things get better. No matter what you're advocating for, it's not going to get better if you're not out there using your voice, letting people know what the real needs are, how we need support. And so I'm so thankful for you and the rest of our EC who just really do a lot behind the scenes that people have no idea about. But it helps make our association what it is. So thank you. So a question that I always love to use to wrap up our conversations is, people have heard a lot today. Like, you've shared a lot of good things, some good takeaways, but they could have missed some things, or you may have not got to share something. Or so if there was one thing that you hope people hear as they're ending this conversation, what is the one thing you hope people take away?
I think out of all of the things that we've talked about, I think it really comes down to advocating for yourself. I mean, we always talk about advocating for our schools, advocating for our students, and that, of course, is there. But I think as a leader, you do have to advocate for yourself, and whatever way that looks like. Maybe it's advocating by calling for help from your district to say, hey, this is what's happening. I need some guidance or a thought partner, whatever it may be. But then it's also advocating for yourself if you don't have that opportunity, to see what other roads are there that can help me. And I think, through TEPSA, obviously this is, like you said, it's the TEPSA podcast, but that is such an easy way to connect with people that I hope the listeners today will know, if I am feeling alone, I'm on an island somewhere and I just don't know where to turn, that they'll contact you, they'll contact me, they'll contact any of us on the EC and say, hey, you said that and I know I need it. Help me find somebody that is kind of similar in what these needs are that we can connect with, because this job is too hard to do by yourself, but it is so incredibly rewarding if you have those people around you that can lift you up.
That was the perfect advice to end this conversation. So thank you so much, Lori, for being a guest today. Thank you, everybody who is listening and watching to this conversation. Remember, you can check out all the past episodes on your favorite podcast station. And we always want to remind you that subscribing, leaving a review, all those kind of things really help get our message out to more people. So we hope you take time to do that today. We hope you join us again next week with another all-new guest here on the TEPSA Talk Podcast.